Hey, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? I'm doing a little different setup today. So right now I'm just really making sure that I am live the way that I say that I am. Because I can't, I'm on a new thing, StreamYard. Okay, guys. I'm just making sure that I am live right now. This is different because I don't have my chat. Oh, yes, I am. Look, je suis dans l'air. All right. I am on. Let me see if IG is popping. I don't know if IG is popping. I can't tell. Okay, here we go. Welcome, guys. Welcome to your new moon and Taurus live collective reading. My name is Glean. Welcome back to Gleaning Gems. Okay. And we are going to dive into the collective consciousness and see what the cosmic curriculum is for this next 2 weeks. Okay. Um, Welcome Instagram, because this is my first time going live on Instagram. I was actually last minute trying to get the TikTokers in, but it was a no-go. Spirit said, we're just doing IG today and YouTube. So welcome everybody. Um, I'm new to this setup, so I don't even know if I'm going to be able to see your chat right now, but hopefully I can. Oh, let me see. Hold on. Comments. Look at that. I can see it now. I can see it now. All right. So let's take a look. So last time that we had convened, right, it was the full moon, right? And since then, a lot of things have been happening for the past 2 weeks. Okay, so normally I start out, and I'm doing a rundown since I'm new to Instagram. I start out with channeled messages, and then we go into the collective reading. Okay, so one of the first channeled messages that I got on the 15th was the shift. Okay. So there has been a huge shift within the past, literally, I feel within the past 48 hours. The energy has been very heavy. Some of us are quantum leaping. We're feeling very fatigued as far as sleep patterns, everything you can think of is off and it's normal. Okay. Some of us may be feeling a lot of sensations in our bodies right now, a lot of third eye activations, and also a lot of heart chakra activations. Me personally, I feel like my heart is been palpitating literally all day. Okay. And I know for sure that, there was a heart chakra activation, okay, because of the things that I've been going through. All right. Um, Now, one of the things that had came up earlier on during the this other part of the moon cycle was being seen, okay, and how that is such a sacred thing, especially when you talk about connecting to your divine feminine energy, okay? And the theme of betrayal had came up, but not betrayal in the sense of being betrayed by others, which is part of it, right? However, when you understand certain things as far as energy and your consciousness expands, when you take ownership and you're sovereign in your decisions and what it is that has happened to you and the experiences that you've had, you realize that the only person that you can ultimately control in the equation is yourself. So some of the biggest betrayals that you experience and the ones that are the most difficult in order for you to get past and heal are the ones of self betrayal, right? And what I mean by self betrayal is betraying your intuition, right? The signs, the synchronicities, the red flags were red flagging, they were pink. I mean, they were all over the place. And literally, you still decided to walk into the situation with rose colored glasses and ultimately, hey, what's up, friend? All right. Ultimately, go into the world with rose colored glasses and, you know, for lack of a better term, you got hurt. Okay. And those are the ones that we are really clearing, especially from a past life. And this came up in the last reading, cosmic, okay, from a cosmic perspective, cosmic soul contracts, okay. So it's kind of a two-layer situation because depending on where you're at in your spiritual journey, you could still be dealing with past life situations because you have been stuck in a karmic loop. Okay. And hopefully, with this transmission, we get you unstuck. Okay. However, those of us that have really just been honing in and doing the work, a lot of us are on the cosmic trail. Okay. As far as clearing cosmic soul contracts. All right. And those are the soul contracts that are with those triggering, those volatile relationships. A lot of them are twin flame relationships as well. Yes, that's a thing that we believe in here on this channel. I know some people may not necessarily subscribe to that ideology, that idea. However, me having experienced one and not believing in it myself, once I understood what it was, it really made sense. A lot of the things that I ultimately went through, okay, as far as when it comes to relationships, okay. So I feel like that's a message for someone because twin flame relationships are the most triggering of relationships because literally it's another soul fragment of yourself, right? And who knows you better than you? Who knows how to tick your who knows how to push your own buttons better than your twin flame? But those relationships are meant to essentially trigger us into a level of healing, okay? And some of them do, on a rare occasion, transform and become soul relationships. And some of them, they just vibrate out of our reality. And then we hopefully go with more aligned relationships that are of the highest good for us. Okay. So, another thing that had came up, especially with us being in big Taurus energy, first of all, let me shout out all of the Tauruses. Happy birthday. Love you down. Okay, I'm a Taurus rising. What up? What up? What up, Boo Gang? All right. Um, when it comes to Taurus energy, I mean, just look at me. Just look at me. We like pleasure. We like opulence. We like to indulge our senses. Okay, that's the reason why this live is even called the pleasure principle. Okay, because what is happening right now, especially with us exiting out of the Venus retrograde energy recently, there is such a microscopic view on our lives right now, especially when it comes to love, money, relationships, especially a lot of us as far as star seeds that are being activated into our soul plans, our cosmic soul plans right now. Those things are things that need to be handled, okay? Because we cannot be doing the work for the collective if within our own homes we don't have the peace and we are um, not able to show up as our most authentic selves, right? So what had came up, right? Funny enough, I was sitting there and I was judging because I'm a Virgo stellium, right? And I was just like, man, I can't stand being fucking broke. You know what I mean? Like I can't stand that shit. Like, you know, how you just literally just thinking about it. And right afterward, I heard Source said, because you do it so well, that's because you have a rich spirit. Okay. So the reason why I say this, because especially when it comes to Taurus energy is an earth sign. Okay. We are what you call resourceful. Okay. We use what it is that we have. We use our God given talents, our brains, our minds, our soul's gifts, and we make shit happen. Okay. So, this is what this energy is about and what it's activating in you right now. Using all of the resources that you ultimately have in order for you to become your highest self and move in your highest timeline. Okay. But Source was saying those of us that are in that spirit, it's because we have a rich spirit and we don't operate in lack. Because when you use what it is that you have, that activates two things, right? It's gratitude, which is a frequency of receivership. Okay. Big divine feminine energy. All right. And another thing that it activates, as far as other than gratitude, is it activates the frequency of money coming into you, because that is something else that is synonymous, right? And we always have been taught, you know, to be funny about talking about our money. You know what I mean? But if you can't talk about your money, you can't talk about love. You can't talk about your businesses. You can't talk about your soul work. Okay. These are the limiting beliefs. These are the blocks that we currently have that are being torn down. Okay. This is very much tower energy coming through with bull energy. But the tower energy is not abrupt. You may feel it in your body, like literally, especially the folks that are clairsentient, the Pisces gang, the Virgos, when it comes to the stomach and the Sages. Okay. You may really literally be feeling it in your body right now. But um, see, there goes my neurodivergence. I was like, yeah, she flowing, she going, and then went somewhere else, right? But you may literally be feeling that energy right now in your body, okay? So, but when it came to the whole judging and the whole broke thing, right? If you come, let's say, from humble beginnings, all right, quote unquote, getting it out the mud, right? Please accept that part of you, because any part of your experience that you've lived up until this point that you feel any shame or feel some kind of way about it, it's literally hindering you. Okay. And it's something that is blocking you energetically as far as money is concerned. Right. So if you grew up poor, you grew up poor. If you were in the projects, you were in the projects. Okay. You know, if you wore thrifties, you know, thrifting clothes and hand me downs, or had came from a big family with a lot of siblings, or you know, I literally heard some houses with roaches with it. I said, okay, spirit, we talking about the roaches? Okay, whatever it is, okay, accept that part of your journey, because that's part of what made you who you are right now. Okay. I really need you to like understand that, because that judgment, it activates a frequency of lack. Okay. And also it doesn't allow you to really see yourself clearly. Once you become neutral on it and you're like, okay, you know, I grew up in that circumstance, but what did it do for me? Me, it made me, like I said, very resourceful. Like honestly, I've been working since I'm 12 years old in Queens, right? I used to sweep up a store after school, okay, for dollars, you know, just literally for me to have a little money in my pocket. I used to hustle little little comic books that I used to make, you know, after school. So but these were things that made me resourceful. Like legit, I didn't even need for my mom to give me little pocket change and money, right? That is the energy of the Taurus bull. You literally have everything it is that you need at your disposal in order for you to create the life that you want. But you first have to see that. And if you're judging it, you're never going to see it. Okay. So I'm going to move on past that energy. But, Source was very adamant about talking about that. Um, and another thing that had came through was anticipating drama. Now, this is something as far as when it comes to mindfulness, right? If you were going into an interaction, right? Because we're all on the same cosmic curriculum, right? If you were going into an interaction, because I know I do this as a Virgo, like legit, if I'm about to be into something or I feel some kind of way or I'm about to confront somebody, like I'm already going through all the scenarios in my head. You feel me? And I'm ready for you. We straight surgical with it. So that's why, you really don't want to fool with a Virgo when it comes to that energy. But at the same time, I realized when I was in this loop and this thought process, what was happening. It was like I was rehearsing essentially a negative outcome. And my spirit guides had dropped in and they said, "You are in a new timeline. That no longer applies to you." Right? But sometimes when we quantum leap and we're going into new timelines because we're so used to the old version of ourselves, right? We don't quite realize it until we have these little interactions, right? So my spirit guides was like, "Go ahead, like legit, like don't do what you normally do. Just fall back. You know what I'm saying? Just be. Just come through. Like, it's whatever." Right? And legit, I went into the interaction and it was like, "Welcome to Good Burger. How can I help you?" Like, but because I had was anticipating this drama, I literally could have been the person to manifest the drama into my own life had I not caught myself in that mental egoic loop, right? So we've been experiencing a lot of ego death, okay, when it comes to this past lunar cycle. Look, I don't know about y'all. I keep it a buck with y'all. Ego death on 100. And when I say ego death, your ego is just comprised of your past interactions. Amen. Right? It's just a Rolodex of everything that's just happened to you in the past. So, and it's a protective mechanism, right? People are like, "Oh no, we're trying to destroy the ego." No, we're trying to make the ego our bitch. Okay. We're trying to make the ego work for us. We're trying to step into our most authentic selves with our ego. Okay. The ego is not ruling us and our decisions. If anything, the ego now serves us versus us serving the ego. ¿Tú comprende? I hope you do. Okay. So, what shadow aspect of you that you're addicted to in that regard? Because it may not necessarily be something like mine, like an interaction that you were going to have with a person, but it literally can be anything, right? That you are building up an angst or an anxiety, because anxiety is literally because you're anchored in the past. Anxiety is a manifestation of the ego and past situations. When you anchor yourself in the present moment and what's currently happening in front of you, the ego doesn't stand a chance. That's why mindfulness, meditation, journaling, all of these things, legit, they really do help you to anchor into where it is that you are right now versus what had happened, okay, in the past, right? So the big message there was stop and just be. Like, just literally be. Don't have a reaction. Even if you anticipate it, don't even fight the feeling. Say, "Okay, in the past, this is something that I've experienced. But right now, I'm going to try something new. I'm just going to fall back and see what happens." And you come back and you tell me what happens. Because you may realize that We're not in Kansas anymore. All right. Bitch, we going down the yellow brick road. All right. We're ready to meet the Wizard of Oz. I know that I'm met the Wizard of Oz the way this heart chakra is going in. All right. So that's another message because Oz is something that's big for me on this spiritual journey. So that's talking about the solar plexus. Okay. That is the seat of your divine will. And the lower three chakras honestly have been a big theme since ushering in the Taurus energy, which makes sense because it's an earth sign, right? So themes around what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel secure, what makes you, because if you don't feel safe and secure, which is the root chakra, the next one up is creative. How are you going to read? How are you going to create if you're in survival mode? It just don't work. It just doesn't work, right? And this is the recalibration of our nervous systems that we're experiencing right now, especially for those of us that are anchoring into our soul plans to understand that there is a new level of safety, right? And a new level of operating and manifesting, not from a place of fear, but from alignment. Okay. So on the 22nd, the channel message was the pressure cooker. Okay. So I know a lot of us have been feeling really uncomfortable. And when I mean uncomfortable, like uncomfortable in the way that you feel the urge for you to move and for you to do something. Like you're literally being propelled to do something. And you're uncomfortable because Source said that you're not supposed to be where you're at. But and you're not meant to be comfortable where it is that you're at. That's the reason why you're being made uncomfortable. And it's there, and that energy is here to propel you into change. Okay. So if you've been experiencing that, again, I'm all about alchemy. All right. When you experience that fear, especially in your body with the heart chakra activations, you may be even confusing fear for a heart chakra activation, right? And a lot of us have been operating in fight or flight for so long in survival mode. And now that we're ascending into 5D consciousness, that excitement almost feels like the same thing in our body, right? So alchemize that energy by saying, like, I acknowledge the fear, but this is also excitement for what's to come because the fear just comes from the unknown. And that's literally where we're at. We're in uncharted territory. Okay. Like we ain't never been here before. Okay. So have grace. Definitely have grace and be loving and patient with yourself as you're going through this ascension process. Okay. And another thing that had came up, right, was spirituality and sex. Okay. Because Taurus energy, hello, the pleasure principle, right? So a lot of us in the collective, right, because we're ascending, our consciousnesses are expanding, we crave a deeper sense of connection, right? 3D, love and sex in 3D was very much more of, a physical, emotional connection, right? And we're migrating more to a emotional, spiritual connection. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta make love to my mind, baby. Okay. You can't just, focus on one place. I'm a multifaceted being. I need you to engage in all of my senses. Okay. But another thing that had came up was Marvin Gaye, sexual healing, right? And part of that was talking about spiritual hygiene when it comes to, love and sex, migrating from the 3D to the 5D. Okay. Especially if you are in a relationship with a partner that is still on their ascension journey, right? Because we're in earth school, right? Some of us are masters. Some of us are straight doctorates and master's degrees up in this bitch. Okay. And some of us are in the third grade. Some of us are in high school. You get the analogy. I'm not going to drag it. Okay. But the same thing happens when it comes to your relationships as well, right? Yes, you may be ascending at a rate that's faster than your chosen partner, right? And they may be at a different place. And literally, some of the reflections and shadows that they are reflecting back to you, you're like, that shit aggy as fuck. Like, what's going on, right? But literally, you're seeing an old version of yourself because that is what your relationships and your partners are there to mirror back to you. Okay. So have grace for them as well. Now, not telling you to tolerate no BS. Okay. But what happens there as well, when it came to the whole pressure cooker and the whole solar plexus analogy and what we were talking about before, if they are still operating in that fear based operating system, you need to be very on top of your spiritual hygiene and your especially if you're still having intercourse with them, right? Because in the 5D, and it always has been, it's just now that you're aware of it. Okay. Sex in the 5D is very much spiritual. Okay. And cords can be attached to your solar plexus. Okay. And siphon some of your energy. So definitely spiritual baths, clearing out your chakras, doing what you need to do in order to make sure that you tuned up, turned on, and tapped in. Make sense? I hope it does. And also, too, for those of us that are ascending, something that had came through was tantra. Okay. Especially trigger warning. All right. For those of us in the collective that have had experience as far as SA. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because if we are receiving heart chakra activations, right, it's taking us to a whole different other level of emotional awareness. Okay. Because a lot of us as that had those experiences, in order to survive those experiences, we went numb, right? Some of us, as far as, females in this collective, or even males, right? Because that's something that also came up in the field. Okay. Kanye, right? Have gone through traumatic experiences as children, right? And these experiences have inadvertently affected us here in this moment. Like we may associate it with sex, but it also is something that is very integral in connecting to your emotional body. Okay. So, Tantra is very much a good way and breath work in order for you to reconnect with that numb part of yourself. Okay. We're almost done with the channel messages. All right. And then something else that came through again, because the focus is on the money, the bread cooker. Like, where's my money? Okay. All right. In my Onaja voice. All right. Where's my money? Where is it that you're giving your last? Where are you emotionally, spiritually, physically, and financially depleting yourself? Because that is a piece of programming, ancestral. Okay. It's in our DNA about, epigenetics, 16 generations back or so. All right. That is being cleared out in us as far as our DNA right now. Where is it that you are depleting yourself? Because it's one thing if you're one of those people like, hey, yo, I make money, but I just can't hold on to money, right? That could be part of the problem, right? You have the frequency in order to attract the money, but there is a part and there's a distortion and there is a belief there about having to deplete yourself in order for that to look like love. right? Because you like, man, baby, I give you my last dollar, everything that I got. No, no, no. We're not supposed to be doing that. Okay. That is a part of the old programming that we are leaving behind, because in order for you to build empires, in order for you to build legacies, you got to be able to hold it down. I'm talking about saving, I'm talking about investing, I'm talking about cryptocurrency, I'm talking about you name it. Your fingers need to be in all of it, right? But if you're giving your last, how is it that you're supposed to build? It doesn't work that way, right? So that ties into also the Taurus energy and the new moon and the energy that you're supposed to be working with right now as far as manifesting. Now, today, actually, the moon is still in Aries. It doesn't move into Taurus until Sunday, which is the actual new moon. So I'm actually getting ahead of the game plan. All right. And I'm giving you the syllabus early so you can sit for the next 3 days and manifest the shit out of your life right now. Okay. Now, for our dreamers, our dream oracles of the collective, right? Your dreams have been giving you a subconscious glimpse into abundance blocks around relationships, right? And I'm gonna always use myself as the guinea pig, right? Because who else can I talk from like somebody else's perspective, right? So I had a dream. You know, I'm Haitian. I'm feeling live, and I'm just telling you how my mind works. So maybe it'll help you as far as when it comes to deciphering your dreams, right? Because I know myself very well. So I had this dream that I was with Stevie J. I know, love and hip hop. Stevie and Jocelyn, I know. Don't judge me, okay? Judge your mammy. Don't judge me. Now, the funny thing in the dream, right? He was paying for something, and then it was like a dollar amount that was very exact. And like, dude, legit, like, went and gave me coins of the dollar amount plus the, and was like, let me get my $2 change back, right? The rest of the dream doesn't matter because I don't even remember what it was that we were purchasing or what it was we were exchanging or whatever the case may be. And then I woke up, I was like, really, Source? Stevie, right? So then I had to go into my psychology, like, okay, what do I associate Stevie with, right? Like, and everybody was just like, oh, he always just have this shiesty, like a rat, like a master splinter, like type energy, right? So I was like, huh. So there is some underlying subconscious block that I have about feeling someone is being stingy with me, right? And if I have a subconscious block about somebody being stingy with me, then that is also triggering a frequency of lack, right? So who is it that you feel that's like stingy with you right now, right? Because at the same time, everything is a reflection, right? Because if I feel like somebody's being stingy with me, let's just say, and I didn't feel like this was a particular person, Stevie represented like a collective energy, right? When we feel like someone, and see how I say use the word feel, right? Because it's all about how you feel about money, okay? When you feel somebody is being stingy with you, one of the first things that you hold back is not just your money, but also your emotions. Let it settle in your spirit. If you feel like somebody can't give you, like you can't give me what it is that I want, right? You withhold yourself, and it operates and it permeates through your frequency as far as how you move with that person or those energies, whether it be your job, people in your household, because it's love, money, work, right? If you have that frequency within you, it's also activating an energy of lack, right? So where are you being stingy with your emotions? Where is it that you have trained yourself to not emotionally open yourself up because of your past experiences as a protective mechanism? Okay. Because if that is a theme that's coming up for you, it's coming up to be cleared. But you have to sit with the lesson and what's being reflected with you for you to really get to the root cause of it. Okay. And one of the last things that I have, as far as, well, two last things, are your differences are your divinity. And this is something really, really heavy on honoring yourself. And this is about self love. Because if y'all don't know, money is a woman. She is feminine. That is heavy, divine feminine energy. Okay. And if you are denying yourself in any way, shape, or form, right, it's an abundance block. Where is it that you're not honoring your differences? Where are you not showing up as your most authentic self? Where is it that you are, again, censoring yourself? So I'm challenging you right now to practice radical authenticity, even if it may be cringe. Okay. It's okay to be cringe, right? Because it's only cringe to the people that's around you because they don't operate on your frequency. You ever think about that? Because the people that fuck with you heavy, guess what? It's not cringe. It's like, this is my kind of girl. Okay. So definitely accepting yourself. And another thing that came through was idols, right? And more specifically, when I say idols, you know, I mean pedestal energy, putting people on a pedestal. And that could be anyone, right? It could be like, with focus on love and relationships, it could be, putting your wife on a pedestal. It could be putting your husband on a pedestal. Okay. Because if you're putting anyone on a pedestal, that means you're putting them above you. And then you're putting in a hierarchy. And if you're putting in a hierarchy, somebody is less than you, that's not self love. So look at where the cognitive dissonance is there, right? And it could be anything. It could be, celebrities, whatever it is, however it resonates for you in your life, right? You can definitely admire somebody, right? You can definitely see somebody as your hero. I have lots of heroes. I have a lot of people, mentors and people that I emulate, okay? That's how I'm showing up as I am right now. Okay. But I don't try to copy them and wear their skin. Right. Now, granted, there's nothing wrong with copying. All right. Because it kind of goes back to something in childhood, right? Like, why are you copying me? Don't copy me. There's something about that with us when we were children. We just didn't like to be copied because as children, we very much honored our own individuality and identity, right? But then somewhere along the line, because of that, because children, Gemini energy, we judge ourselves and we kind of get shamed. And it's like, I'm not copying her. I'm not doing what he's doing. You want to be where he's at, right? So how about you follow the blueprint? You don't have to put the person on a pedestal, but there's nothing wrong with that because what you'll find out when you start to copy or emulate an energy or channel an energy is that you try it on and you're like, this resonates, but this doesn't. you sort through and you move through and you catch your own individuality, your own flow. You put your own stank on it, right? So, but because if we have any shame about emulating or copying someone because we've put them on a pedestal and we're below and they're above us, right? That's where the hindrance comes in, right? For us to really step into what it is that we want to do. So I feel like that's a message for a lot of us in this collective, especially those that are trying to get into businesses, that are trying to, even when it comes to your relationships, right? And even then, the relationships that you may quote unquote, because that just dropped in, thank you guys, right? Even the relationships that you may have been emulating, you may be putting them on a very false pedestal. And what I mean by that is I could give you my own personal example. Like my grandfather, because my father died when I was very young. So my grandfather, he was like, I had created him because we're creators in our own universe, right? He was the patriarch of my family, right? In my eyes, he could do no wrong. And I remember like when I was about 20 something, and somebody randomly was like, "Oh yeah, this other kid," and I'm like, "What kid? What y'all talking about? Who child? Huh? What kid? My grandfather had 7 daughters. What are you talking about? Who's this dude?" Right? And without going too deep into it, you can catch the drift, right? That at one point or another, he stepped out on my grandmother and he had a child, right? But in my mind, he could do no wrong. And I had typecasted him as an ideal, right? But that could be very distorted, right? Because that person is not perfect. So I feel like that's a message. If there's anybody in your life and you think about who it is that you consider your heroes and who it is that you emulate, especially when it comes to relationships, all right, work, family, home, take it how it resonates, that if you're putting people on a pedestal, again, it doesn't allow you to see them clearly and it doesn't allow you to see yourself clearly. Okay. And one of the last things that I channeled was the song Love and War, Tamar. Okay. So I feel like that may be a message for someone. And the last thing was quantum leaps. All right. Because there has been one heck of a timeline jump and quantum leaps going on, okay, these past few weeks. And you feel it, and we're going through it on a collective level, all right? And some of the things that you may experience when you've gone through a quantum leap, right, is things, especially even physical things, they shift out of your reality. So, like, you'll lose something, you'll break something. Um, what else? Electronics are malfunctioning because in your new reality, it's time for an upgrade, right? And one funny thing that happens to me whenever I have a quantum leap, right? I've had the same phone number for close to 20 years. Okay. So it always trips me out whenever somebody texts me, like, "Hey, girl, we're going to that restaurant." Or, "Hey, we're going to go mini golfing." And it's a wrong number, right? And at first, I never really thought nothing of it, but I realized when I go back, and this is a message for someone as well, go back to your journal entries if you journal, or if you have any kind of way to kind of chronologically see where you were at around this time last year. Okay. After you had went through the eclipse portal. All right. I feel this is a heavy message for somebody. Go back into those entries and read it because you will see and it'll be very clear what karmic contracts that are being shifted and closed out for you right now. Okay. So that's that. So now that we're done with the channeled messages, right? Let's take a look into what the spirit is spiriting. Okay. Mm, let's start off with our moon cards, right? I shuffled, but you know me. For those of you that don't know me, I like to anything else? All right. All right. So the three cards that came out. First one is self-love. All right. Taurus energy. Need I say more? Okay. Heavy on the self-love, heavy on the self-care practices, heavy on the engage your senses and the pleasure principle. Okay. That is what this whole lunar cycle is about. Okay. So for the next 27.5 to 28 days, that is what source is channeling to you. Okay. And if something is stopping you from your enjoyment, listen to me. If something is stopping you from your enjoyment, it's not making you feel like I'm the baddest, that I'm loving on me, then that's something that you need to take a look at. Okay. But make sure you start with the man in the mirror. Okay. That just dropped in there. Like, make sure you check with the man in the mirror. Okay. And that's waxing crescent, self-love. All right. So waxing energy is around that's around next week. So what's today? Friday. So somewhere around Thursday, Friday. Okay. Uh and I don't know what the moon is looking like that time. My calendar is not flipped. But definitely engage yourself and your senses in regards to um, the self love. Okay. Get a massage, a pedicure, whatever it is that makes you feel that you are in your bag. I suggest you do it. Okay. Or get to as close to it. You may not be able to, travel to, you're out of the country or out of the state right now. Go to a park, go to a botanical garden. Okay. Definitely connect with nature and ground yourself. Ooh, that was another major theme, grounding. Because of all of these shifts, and this is this Taurus energy, okay, because their Taurus energy is earth energy. With all of these shifts that we are going through, it's very, very important that you ground yourself and really connect with your body right now. Okay. Because you may legit, especially with these third eye activations, you may feel like you're a space cadet. Because you literally are operating in other dimensions. That's heavy on a message for my star seeds. Okay. If you identify as such. All right. And the next card that came out was will. Right? So Taurus energy is fixed. Okay, it's very much um an energy. Well, no, it's actually cardinal energy. My bad. It's No, it's fixed. I'm sorry. They're like, you had it right. Okay, I second guessed myself. My bad. Guys. All right. It's fixed energy. All right. Because that's what it is. It's the bull. It's sturdy. Who uses that in their symbol? Was it Merrill Lynch? Right. As far as big banks, the bull is a symbol. What do you call the markets? Right. If it's the bull, if the markets are booming, it's a bull market. Right. Look, astrology's everywhere. Okay. Y'all just have to see it. Okay. So Taurus energy, it definitely, love, money, sex, pleasure, the pleasures in life, it all boils down to your abundance. Because we always think about like, hey, money, money, money. But money is all of these things. If you're lacking in any of these or neglecting any of those parts of yourself, okay, that could be why, you're not living the glamorous life. All right. But this is talking about your will. All right. And definitely working on your willpower. So, where is it that are weak in the knees, right? Whatever your vice is, no judgment, right? Currently, right now, your girl is on a cleanse, all right? And it's something that I do as spiritual maintenance. It's like a tune up for my body. I do it every quarter, right? And trust me, there's been temptation. Like, yeah, you want some fried chicken? You want some ho hos? You want some ding dongs? And it's like, no, right? But that very much is purposeful right now for me to channel that energy and activate and strengthen my solar plexus, okay? The seat of your divine will. And with your will, that is how you get things done after we exited out of this Aries energy. Because it's by no mistake that the action is the first thing that comes out in the zodiac, right? The leadership energy, the taking the purposeful action, taking a step before we even know what's going to ultimately happen. Now, once you've taken that step, now you're in the Taurus energy. And Taurus energy is not hasty. It's very steadfast. It's fixed. It's anchored, but it's deliberate. It's resourceful. It moves with purpose and very intentional. There's your message. Okay. And the last card that came out of this moon deck was Faith, the worm moon. Okay. So this worm moon card has been coming up over and over and over again these past few readings. And it's heavy emphasis on this eclipse portal that we went through, right? Because the from that time, that 6 month period in between, we're receiving major activations, right? I'm not telling you to run around like like a chicken with your head cut off. But I'm telling you to have faith. I'm telling you to dig in. I'm telling you to create a plan. I'm telling you to move with intention and purposeful, and most definitely have faith. Have faith in the divine and have faith in yourself. Okay. And what it is that you can do. Go back. And I feel like that's part of even that journal entry. Go back. Go back to where you were a year ago or 2 years ago, right? You will see a pattern. You're like, man, I used to think like that. Man, I've changed. I've really been doing the work. Bitch, I'm doing a good job. Okay? So there's your message there. All right. And I'm going to pull from this shaman's dream deck because dreams came up. We just exited Pisces energy. Okay. Oh, I love this energy. I really like it. Okay. So, right, this first card is the jeweled web. All right. Ay, Dios mío. Okay, there we go. Connectivity. All right. So, connectivity, this I feel is most definitely about your network, right? Because your network determines your net worth, right? And also, a lot of us in this collective have been very much in hermit energy, okay? Because this is the year of 9, all right? Virgo energy, right? Um, we've been hermiting. We have been getting these, upgrades, these light codes, these, these activations, and we have really hunkered down in our own energy for us to integrate. But now, we're being called to put our toes, our tippy toes into the water, you know? So if you get invited to the function or the fete, okay, and it feels like it's aligned, dive in. Give it a chance. Say yes to the universe. All right? Because what you have been manifesting may be there. All right? Because we're talking about love and money and soul families and relationships, right? Because there's overflow aplenty. All right. And I feel like this is speaking to that part of the channeled message when it comes to scarcity mindset and lack. So I'm actually going to read that part because I feel like there's a message there. And that's number 43. 7 may be significant, and 7, that's God body number. Get into it. So, overflow, too much, overwhelm, and plenty. So many good things are headed your way or are already occurring in your life right now. Yet you may be thinking that they're not possible or you're not worthy of them. Abundance is everyone's natural state before we project our restrictions on it. Defining what it means, who has it, who gets it, and so forth. Right now, take yourself out of your conditioning and look at your life through the eyes of plenty. There is so much beauty and love. Okay, Taurus energy, engage your senses. Opportunities and divine synchronicities destined to support your dreams abound are lined up for you. Yet sometimes difficult to discern because of all of the things that have bombarded you with too much information and stimulation, distracting you from the truth that all is well. Kind of remember like that spiraling thing that I was talking about? Like, sometimes all of this overflow can be overwhelming, and you may find yourself responding with empathy overload. Empathy overload occurs when you tune into the collective angst and fear about impending changes and uncertainties. It's unmanageable. You feel like you're drowning in those emotions. It's time to allow yourself to detach. Bring yourself back to your life. Restore your faith in power greater than you and remind yourself to focus on your smaller personal universe, which is much easier to manage. In this way, you know that you are a conduit for life's blessings and can share them with others, making this perception of overflow profoundly positive. Like that is a this is very, I'm going to add it to it. I'll put my spank on it. But I feel that that's a message for a lot of us in this collective, tuning into the collective angst. What's going on with the economy, what's going on with the tariffs, what's going on, tax season just closed out. Okay, this too much. Okay, and if it's literally too much, turn that shit off. Turn it off. Social media break. If social media is part of your business, all right, jump on to do your business and get off. All right? Because what you may even be feeling in your body is not necessarily that of your own. You're absorbing and literally channeling the fear of the collective. And when you focus on what's in the present moment in your own personal universe, your own world, it's not so bad after all. I'm all right in my 50 voice. All right. And the last card is Sky Bridge, possibility for union. Okay. So this card actually had come up not too long ago, a few readings back. Okay. And they're like, yeah, it's the same thing. Right. So with us coming out of retrograde energy, mercurial energy, and Venus retrograde energy, right? There may have been some miscommunications or lack of communication. Um, there may have been, and especially right now, both of the nodes of the moon are in retrograde in Pisces. Okay. So, and especially even with a lot of these, spiritual upgrades and people elevating in consciousness, there may be a possibility for union. Now, I feel like it resonates in different ways for a lot of different people. Okay. Um, this may be spin the block energy. All right. Somebody may be coming back into your field. All right. That has had a separate, that's been on a timeout. And you may want that old thing back. I mean, the choice is yours. Only thing, if it left you feeling like you don't love yourself, or it's something that impinges on your will, don't do it. If it makes you feel thirsty, don't do it. All right. But, because if it doesn't feel like a hell yes, it's a no. Because indecision is the decision. I don't know. I don't know. It's a no. It's a no, at least for now. Or maybe, maybe it's a never. Take it how it resonates. Now, for other people in the collective, I feel like this is definitely of a romantic nature. Okay. So y'all gonna meet y'all dream girl or y'all dream nigga in my Miami voice. Okay. So go to the function, take the invite. Okay. Because that may be source's way of directing you towards your divine union. All right. And also, too, the union energy has been something as well, as far as within us as individuals, right? The merging of our divine feminine, our divine child, and our divine masculine energy. All right. All of, throw your diamonds in the sky. All right. All of those energies merging. All right. In order for us to pull up as our most authentic selves. All right. And this most definitely is a mudra. Okay. It's nothing Illuminati about it. Look it up. But anyway, um, and definitely question everything. That's something that had came up as well, um, for me during this time. There is so much misinformation that you like legit, even when it came to the overwhelm and a plenty, like you could be being fed and playing into a lot of false information right now. Okay. um so I feel that's a message there. But when it comes to the whole divine union, that is one of the major themes when it comes to this particular moon cycle and this new moon. And as a matter of fact, let me pull it up real quick because I had looked at astrology, but I didn't write it down. And something had came up earlier. It was Neptune placements, okay, and also Jupiter placements and Pluto, because that is kind of like the divine assignment. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in a moment. Where are we now? Okay, so let's go to this new moon. So all I'm doing right now is just looking at the transits for the new moon, right? So there are three major themes that we are calling into mastery right now during this moon cycle, okay? Because there's a stellium of Pisces. So mastering the 1 foot on land and 1 foot in the heavens. Okay. So that is kind of like balancing your spiritual needs with your material needs. Okay. And this is most definitely coming up with the Venus. Makes sense with the Taurus energy, but this is Pisces because it's coming from a spiritual aspect, which it's all connected, right? And also Jupiter when it comes to money. All right. So there's a very strong emphasis there. And even when it comes to this Pisces energy and retrograde. So you'll feel like when it comes to these things, even when it comes to the uptakes in dreams or a lot of subconscious openings and blocks coming up. So, when those things come up and those themes grieve, like if you feel to cries and release that energy in your body, that is your body telling you that there's an energy that's stuck in you that needs to come out. So definitely take your time to feel all your feels. All right. Now, the other energy that's coming up to be mastered as far as Aries energy. Okay. And Aries energy is about taking action, being deliberate, intentional, and showing up as a leader, and definitely sovereignty. Okay. What makes you feel like, I just heard, what makes you feel like you a little kid? Don't talk to me like that. Don't treat me that way. Because that's heavy on the self love vibe, right? But really taking time to see what those lessons are trying to show you. Okay. Because also, too, when it comes to your feelings, feelings are energy in motion, emotion, right? But your feelings are something that you could be literally channeling in the moment, and you may need to take time to step back and process and integrate those feelings and self-regulate for you to understand the lesson. Okay. So I feel like that's low-key a message, like don't crash out if you could help it. All right. But sometimes as well, when it comes to Aries energy, some things require direct, assertive action. Okay. You ain't gotta put your foot in somebody's ass. But if you need to reintroduce yourself, because you're not who you were, okay? Yesterday's price is not today's price. Allow me to reintroduce yourself. Okay. That is the energy as far as the Aries is concerned, because people may be operating with old paradigms of who it is that you were. And if you are stepping into your most authentic serve purpose and who it is that you are, it requires a reintroduction, because that person may be operating again from an old paradigm. It may not be something personal. You may take it personally, which is also a lesson within itself, right? Sit back and be neutral, be the observer of yourself. What's going on in this interaction? Okay. And then when it comes to Taurus energy, heavy on what it is that you know about your finances and how it is that you feel about your finances, right? So definitely taking a look at the books. Okay. Taking a look at the books, but also taking a look at the resources that you already have, because you have everything that you need. And that's the way the universe operates as well, right? Because you could be like, man, I ain't got no money. I ain't got no money. I want to do the business, but I ain't got no money. But Did you go and set up the social media account? Did you did you post your shit? Because they can't buy it if it's not advertised. Are you showing up? Are you showing up for yourself? Right? Are you using literally what it is that you already have? You're an artist, you're a creative, right? What about all those songs? What about all those beats? What about all those poems? Glean, I don't know. They're not good enough. They trash. It's part of the process, right? If you've been on TikTok, what Doechii been telling you about the artist way? If you haven't seen that YouTube, you should watch it. It's very inspirational. And this was her 5 years ago, literally monologuing to herself. Like, hey, I'm going to create the art because the art wants to be created. It may not be good. What about that song, Anxiety? You know how long ago she recorded that song? That was 5 years ago. That's 5 years ago. Now Shawty all over the place. Vogue. Eh? Doechii, 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 Doechii. Copie pour moi. Doechii, Doechii. Okay? So definitely take a look at what it is that you have because, right now, this is your origin story, superheroes. Okay? Document it. Show up. Use what you got. So I think we good on the oracles, right? So let's get into the tarot, all right? That's the meat and potatoes. That was the appetizer, okay? Because we're going to see where our energy is at right now as a collective, all right? And what source and our spirit guides and our angels and ancestors got going on for us, okay? What we see, what we may not see coming. Ooh. So satisfying. Hey, okay. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you, Spirit. Yeah. Last thing. Anything else? Todo bien. All right. Thank you, Spirit. All right. So for the energy that's around us right now, we have the Six of Wands in reverse. All right. So this card is normally a card about being seen. All right. Standing in your light, letting your shine, letting your light shine. Okay. Now, with it being in reverse, all right, here in this energy, it's an embodiment of both energies. for me. Okay. So that is some of us right now in this collective are getting our feet wet as far as what that looks like. Okay. And how we are showing up. Okay. Some of us are starting new jobs, right? Because there are a lot of things that are shifting for us, especially as far as in the realm of money, love, and career, right? Think about the past experiences that you had when it comes to things that fall into that category, right? Things that didn't make you feel good about yourself, right? Because this is your do over, all right? Um, so review your mistakes because they're missed takeaways, all right, from the past that you're being given an opportunity to take a look at now when it comes to what it is that you are manifesting, because we're at a new moon, 0 point, right? And how is it that you want to shift your energy to show up? All right. Because spirit right now is telling you to have strength. Okay. And strength comes with being vulnerable, right? If you are not willing to really be honest with yourself and be vulnerable, and sometimes that takes a conversation, okay? Because some of us don't have good mirrors in our lives as far as to reflect back to us what it is that we are going through, or we do have perfectly good mirrors in our life. All right. Especially the people that are closest to us, but we're not open and vulnerable enough to take the constructive criticism. Right. And I feel that's a heavy message for some of us. Right. Now, when it comes to the three, yeah, focus for me, man. What happened to you? Okay. So when it comes to this three of swords that's in reverse, we're going to be feeling a lot of mental anguish, a lot of heart energy, a lot of clearing. Okay. It there's you have to go through it. Okay. There's no way around it. The healing happens when you head straight into the darkness. All right. So what is it that you're avoiding? What conflict, what conversation are you having or not having when you're showing up to these interviews, when you're showing up to these contracts, to these jobs, to these businesses? What is it that you're not confronting head on? Okay. Because nobody's going to give you what you are worth. Okay. You have to know your value, and you need to stand 10 toes on it and demand what it is that you're worth. Okay. And also face the limiting belief when it comes to this devil card. All right. What is what has you as a puppet on a string? What invisible tethers do you have that are making you operate in a way? Because when you're being mindful, you really pay attention about all of your actions, right? So definitely take a review about what it is that you are. And this can show up in many different ways, okay? Because this is talking about when it comes to the sexuality, because this is Taurus energy, right? All right, heavy on the pleasure principle, right? I'm unhinged, okay? Because, I heard, somebody, want to get their back blown out. Literally, this is just what I heard. I don't, I don't know who that is, but, are you mastering and are you in charge of your sexual energy? Are you responsible with it? Are you doing it out of boredom? Are you doing it out of a way of feeling safe? Right? Is it something just to do? Because your sexual energy, your root chakra, okay, is a powerful tool for manifesting what it is that you want. You know, ask anybody that has gone celibate, they get a lot of shit done. All right. So I feel like that's a message for someone, but it can also too be as well what is tugging on your will. All right. It could be food. It could be, drugs. It could be, a number of things. Again, choose what is your particular brand of kink, all right? Or what is your particular brand of Krenak, all right? So take a look at that because we have right now Seven of Wands energy, all right, showing up in our energy, and that's minding our business and drinking our water. Stay out the drama. Focus on you and your own personal universe. Num 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 num. Okay. Be in your own energy. Mind the business that pays you. All right. Because right now, Ace of Pentacles, so many new opportunities are coming through. So many new opportunities are coming through. And this could be, it could be a lot of different things. What have you been manifesting? What is it that you want? Right? Because where attention goes, energy flows. I got my mind on my money and my money on my mind. Focus on you and what you can manage. And also have the wisdom to understand what it is that you can and cannot control and change. Because that came up last channel message and it's dropping in again. Okay? Because God will show up when you do your part. When you reach a point where you can't do anything else, let go and let Source God step in. All right? Because this Emperor energy is coming up in reverse. And that's the embodiment of both energies as far as the Aries energy. That's what the Emperor is. How are you showing up and being a leader and sovereign in your own divinity and honoring your differences and the differences of others? Right? Because the energy of money, love, and relationships is all about reciprocity, right? You get back what you put in. And I feel like when you're out of balance in this, you fall into the distortion of divine masculine energy because that's what's coming up to be balanced in order for us to stand in our triangle. All right. What are you trying to manage? What are you trying to manipulate? Okay. Because that is, he shouldn't be doing that. He needs to do this. She needs to do that. Nobody ain't got to do shit. Legit. Because how are you going to tell somebody else to operate? You don't want somebody to tell you how to operate, right? Remember how I was talking about what makes you feel like a kid? What is tugging on your will? That is something that is pulling on somebody's solar plexus. If you catch yourself thinking that way, that is something that's coming up to correct. Right? Because you cannot manage somebody else. Only person you could manage is you, me, myself, and I. When you manipulate and manage your own energy, your own frequency, the business that pays you, that's when you manifest your reality, your heaven on earth. Okay? Oh, damn. And then the rain just came in like on cue 1, 2, 3 on the clock. I just heard the rain, beer, thunder. So, hey, that's coming in. Hey, boom, shakalaka. Spirit said, come here. Cue the waterworks. Truman Show. All right. So now the advice. The advice is Knight of Pentacles. All right. So this is deliberate, slow, progressive action, right? That's what this energy is, right? But if it's imbalanced, it's saying like, where is it that you are not doing what you can, right? And definitely take a look at your childhood. right? Or the past. It may not necessarily be childhood for everyone, but this is definitely heavy retrograde energy. And like I said before, the moon is in retrograde in Pisces energy in both nodes. So these are past life and future energies that are showing up for us. The soul plan that you're stepping into and the past. So it's telling you, like, where is it that you are exhausting yourself? What is draining you? What is depleting your energy? Because all you literally have to do is tune into your body when it comes to this page of cups. All right. And it's going to tell you, your body talks to you. Everybody is like, oh, my spiritual gifts, my spiritual gifts. One of the biggest spiritual gifts in everybody channels is their feelings, right? Your feelings are the main way in which source communicates to you, right? Now your feelings may not necessarily be the truth, but they're your truth. So make sure you're honoring your truth and you're communicating that, because when you do that, you have this Ace of Wands showing up for you. Now, this Ace of Wands is coming up like, oh, this is a shift in consciousness. This is a shift in knowing what it is that you desire, right? Because a lot of us don't know what we want. We know we want, I don't want this, but you've never seen this before. You don't know what you want. You may be looking for somebody to give you something that they don't have, right? And spirit is telling you, when it comes to this 5 of Cups that's in reverse, right? You're coming into a period of, like, really releasing a lot of heavy energies, and to not really harbor on the past. Where are you focused on the past? Because this 6 of Cups energy is here, right? About our past, how it is that we feel about it. What resentments are you holding on to? You know, in everything, when it comes to those areas. What makes and rich homie Quan make you feel some type of way? Okay, because spirit is saying those feelings mean something, but maybe you were used to shrinking and not communicating your feelings. You were neglected, so that may be something that you neglect to honor. Because right here, when it comes to this magician energy in reverse, all right, this is your magic. This is how you open up portals and pull in alternate and parallel universes and timelines. Okay, this is how you do it. But right now, if you're in reverse right here, you're not operating from that standpoint. Who do you feel that is even trying to manipulate you? They may be doing it because they're used to doing it. It may have been a codependent thing. I feel like that's a message, right? Even in your existing job, how it is that you're showing up. Don't play with me. Don't play with me, because you got this 9 of Wands. Hey, you see Shotty face? Look at her. That's a face like, hold on, play with me. 10 toes. Where are your boundaries? Because your boundaries protect you, okay, from your empathy overload. Do you have boundaries? Do you have rules? Are you trying to govern and manage someone else other than yourself? Because you have this Page of Wands showing up. If you stand 10 toes on what it is that you want, guess what? This is healing and energy, and that creative center, that what it is that you want, it starts to appear. It starts to manifest. It's coming into your reality, literally. So I feel like this is something coming in for some of us, a lot of us, that we didn't even know that we wanted. But if you don't honor everything else up until this point, you're not going to see it, right? And this one right here is the Chariot in reverse. All right. So for some of us, this may mean like, you know, um, delays when it comes to travel or places that you're trying to go, things that are moving slowly. Okay. But also it's about, when it comes to energy, there's ebbs and flows. Where are you not flowing? Where does it feel difficult? Maybe that's your indicator. Where are you going with the flow? But it makes you feel some kind of way. Spirit is like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not what you manifesting when it comes to the Seven of Pentacles in reverse. Okay? With this Seven of Pentacles in reverse, those are not the seeds that you're planting. We're not planting those seeds. Change what you've been doing. If you can't even figure out what it is that you've been doing, do something different. Try it. Whatever your programmed automatic response would be, say, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm just going to do the opposite and see what happens. Because remember, Spirit had told you, have faith. Go through the wormhole. You're on the precipice of something big. Go through it. Because right now you're closing out karmic cycles. You're moving out of this energy. You're walking away from what doesn't serve you. Or maybe you're not. What is it that you're still holding on to? Because some of us have a decision to make. We have a decision to make to bring balance and order into our lives. Because what we want is already here. What we want is already here, manifesting. We're just waiting on our ship to come in. But this is faith. This is knowing that it's coming in. Because we're ready to go ride the wave. You see Shawty with her boogie board, with her surfboard? She about to, hey. She knows what she wants, and she's waiting for that. She's waiting for that opportunity to come through. But are you prepared? Baby, you hear that boom shakalaka, sis? Thunderclap. All right. All right. Because this is an ego death that's coming for you. And after this ego death, guess what? You can look to the future. Because that's probably what makes you feel like you don't know where you're going. Because you're not being decisive on what it is that you want. And baby, look, in my Annie voice, the sun will come out tomorrow. The universe is saying, fuck yeah. The world is yours. You're going to know exactly what it is that you want, and you're going to get it. But are you going to show up for yourself? Are you going to be the bull? Are you going to be stubborn? Are you going to stay fixed? Are you going to erect these boundaries and demand and command the universe to give you what it is that you want? Are you going to be vulnerable at the same time? I don't know what I want. I don't know. I feel some kind of way, and I can't even articulate it. So many times we feel the need to even put a label on our feelings, right? Sometimes you could just be feeling something, some discomfort in your shit, and you're just like, I don't know. I feel crazy. Okay. I don't know what's wrong, but something is wrong. Because the person that wants to be there and wants to show up for you, they're gonna say, baby, what's good? We gonna be all right. And they could tell you that they was something that they're going through. And you could have been feeling some kind of way and they feeling some kind of way. And guess what? Y'all come to an understanding. But you don't know that until you honor yourself and who it is that you are and your differences. So I'm done, y'all. That's the message. Message. That's it. Welcome, Instagram, to Gleaning Gems. Okay? I'm your mistress of ceremony, Glean. Come back again, like, share, subscribe. Okay. Let me know how these themes are showing up for you in the comments. Okay. Not in these comments, because in these comments, once the live is gone, I don't see it anymore. But comment on the actual YouTube video. This won't be posted on Instagram because it's an hour and change. Okay. It'll be on my YouTube video, my YouTube channel, Gleaning Gems. The link is in the bio. Okay. I appreciate you guys showing up. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. All right. And y'all have a beautiful one. And I will see y'all on the full moon. Love you.